Good afternoon, sir. My name is Letitia Ruffin Cartwright. I'm going to be assisting Mr.
Derek Johnson.
in this interview that will be sent up to the Library of Congress, recording your wonderful experience as a military personnel. We thank you so very much for your service. And so would you please introduce yourself?
Want me to talk?
Yes, introduce yourself, please.
Well,
Give us your
I
name.
joined the Marine Corps.
Could you first give us your name, sir?
Huh?
Give us your name first, please.
Oh, my name's William Lewis Hall. I'm from Virginia. I joined the Marine Corps out of high school. I had a chance to go to college, but I don't know. I had girl problems.
Oh, so before you go forward, will you please give us
Yeah.
before you
So-
go forward, Mr. Hall?
Yeah.
Before you go forward, will you give us your date of birth and your address, your current address where you live right now?
Right now, I live here at the hospital.
Okay, and what's your date of birth, please?
April 19th, 33.
Okay, you're good. All right, thank you, sir. And you can continue on giving us your information about your service in the military.
Well, like I say, I'm a Virginia boy, and I was restless when I come out of high school. I didn't smoke. I've never smoked a day in my life.
Let me see if I got one. If it ain't in that box, I'm out.
I would drink a little bit once in a while, but wasn't nothing out the way. All the young guys was drinking, so I decided I'd go down and talk to the service people and see what they had to offer. But I couldn't join in my hometown. I had to go to Roanoke, Virginia. I went to Roanoke one morning, and they gave me a bus fare to come back to Roanoke in a week. So I said, okay. So I went back home. I told my father, I says, Dad, I'm gonna join the service. He says, you sure you want that, Billy? I said, sure, I'm sure. He says, well, which branch did you go in? I said, I went to the Marine Corps. He says, that's a good branch. I had a brother already in the Marine Corps, and I had other brothers in the Army. So, I went over to Roanoke next week, and I said, I didn't have no transportation. So I was hitchhiking along the road. I didn't want to spend my bus ticket. So
What rank were you? What rank were you?
When I come out,
Yeah.
sergeant.
Yes. You were a sergeant.
So, but it took me a long time to earn that rank. So I went to Roanoke. Roanoke, I had to go to Richmond. Richmond, they put us on a train, took us to Parris Island, South Carolina. And That was our boot camp. We took our boot camp training there. Later on, we went to California. So we were moving around all over the place. But we knew there was going to be an outbreak of a war in Korea. So
Wait, before you talk about that, what was it like? What was it like during boot camp?
doing boot camp,
Yes.
pretty tough. I mean, you got through it pretty good, but it was a lot of tough work. You had to train hard and study hard. Now, when I went to Texas, I got on the plane, went to Texas. My brother lived in Texas, one of my brothers. So I called him from Lackland Air Base there in Texas. And I told him I was on my way to California. He said, "What for?" I said, "I joined up." "Join what?" I said, "I joined the Marines." He said, "You crazy?" So I said, "No, you join what you want, I join what I want." So we went on and stayed in a hangar there in Lackland Air Base. Just happened a general there knew my sister-in-law, and she called her to see if I was there. And it wasn't finished. Lackland Air Base was, it wasn't finished. This was in 1949. So we went on, and he had me over, and he got me some sandwiches and gave me. I says, "You don't have to do that. I guess they're going to feed you, ain't they?" And he says, "Oh, yeah, they'll feed you, but I'm going to give you something decent to eat." So I went on to Camp Pendleton, California. So we did training in Camp Pendleton, and it was pretty tough there. So we went up the hill, down them hills. I thought I was from the mountains, but there's plenty of them there. So
Why did you pick the service you chose?
Huh?
Why did you pick the service branch you chose?
Why did I take a service
Why
train?
did you choose the Marines?
Well, I had a brother in the Marines, and he was a boxer, and he was he did everything there, and so I had 4 other brothers in the Army. I thought maybe we split us up a little bit, but Pendleton, we really worked hard because we knew the war was near. I mean, everybody listened to the radio at night, and we had these Indian people there too, but they couldn't drink. They couldn't want allowed to drink a beer or nothing. So I said, they always asked you to buy them a drink when you went out. I said, "I can't buy you a drink."
So you told us a little bit about your boot camp experience. What about your instructors? Do you remember the instructors that you had during boot camp?
What?
Do you remember the instructors that you had during boot camp?
Oh, yeah. I had some tough ones, and you go over to, they let you smoke, but that didn't bother me. They give you a haircut once a week, and that'd be short. That way they tell how long you've been there. So they gave you a soda pop was $1, haircut was $1. So we'd go out and the guys would smoke, and they'd catch them smoking 2 cigarettes, and the smoking lamp was out. You had to give it up for that day. So we drilled along the parade ground there, and it was really hot. It was hot, so at night I would always go to church at night. I knew I was going to need some religion someplace, so I attend church at night, and when we start swimming, to be a Marine, you gotta swim too. Well, half of them can't swim, so they sent me over to qualify for a lot of them. And they told me if I come back anymore, they're gonna drown me. So I said, I ain't coming back no more. I told my sergeant, you want something qualified for them, you qualify. I'm not going to qualify for them. But from Pendleton, they sent us out to the rifle range. And we had a sergeant on the rifle range. And he was, I don't know, he'd always come in drunk at night. And he'd come in and take your rifles and throw them in the ground or the Quonset huts. And we'd have to clean them up in the middle of the night. But then the next day we'd go over and take karate and this other stuff while we was there at camp. And I look at them guys they brought there, I said, hell, them guys are old. But they were in the Marine Corps, so we messed with them for a little while, and they would say, well, you won't have to come back to see us no more. And then we went to Nevada, up in the mountains. It was cold up there. Snow, cold. So we went up there to do winter training, but we didn't have no winter clothes. So they took us up by Greyhound bus, and that was good. So we ate along the highway up there because it was warm out there. That bus, and we went on in to Nevada, not the mountain part. And we got the guy's feet was freezing and everything. I said, holy shit, I don't think Korea should be this cold.
Okay, so which wars did you serve in? You really are remembering a whole lot, which is a great thing. Which wars did you serve in?
Now what?
Which war?
Korean.
Did you serve? Korean War. Okay.
Yeah.
And what year was that?
1940, 50.
Okay.
Right at 50.
Okay. And And where did you go exactly?
Huh?
For the war, you went just straight to Korea?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
My outfit was the first ones to land in Korea.
Okay, and you mentioned how cold it was. What else do you remember about the time when you arrived there?
Well, I thought it was cold that, and then when we got to Korea, we picked it up and pushed the Koreans up the left-hand side of the border, and it was so cold, people was actually freezing, and it was pretty bad. So they came, got us out of there. I was on a carrier right off of Korea. So I don't know. You have a lot of buddies in service, and so the first day I got to Korea, my best friend got killed. He was in a truck sitting next to me, and somebody ambushed the trucks and killed him.
And what was your job assignment? We're going to ask you a series of questions about, like, what was your job assignment? Did you see combat? Those kinds of things. So, what was your job assignment there?
Combat?
Yes. What was in Korea? What was your job assignment?
Well, I was in a mortar company, them mortars, but they were getting wiped out on the front line, so we had to go up and take over their positions. So that was all right. I didn't mind that. In fact, I liked the mortars, but there was a lot to do. And we got up in the Chosin Reservoir. We were fighting up there, and I don't know. It was just one of them things that you didn't think you was gonna make it home.
So you saw lots of casualties.
Oh yeah.
So lots of casualties.
Saw a lot of people get killed up in mountains, and
were they taking prisoners then? Were you taken as a prisoner?
Huh?
Were you ever a prisoner of war?
I didn't hear you.
Were you ever a prisoner of war?
Oh, well,
You weren't taken captive as a prisoner of war.
no,
No.
I was lucky. But I got wounded, and seemed like every day they was knocking me down. And it got to the point I went and seen a chaplain, talked to him. I said, I don't think I'm gonna make it home. He says, oh, you'll make it home. So my captain asked me, says, Bill, said, you've been in this service a long time. Says, I know she always going to any religion, any of them. I said, look, I want to get home.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I understand. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a way to keep you, at least for some time. Hmm?
yeah, it was It was an odd country. I don't even know what we were doing over there.
You said
It was rugged. The people were starving. They were in mud paddy fields, getting rice. Oh God, it was a terrible city.
You said you was injured, right? You were injured, right? You went to the hospital or the infirmary.
Did you
I
go
was-
to the infirmary? You went to the hospital, you were injured. Tell us about your awards. Did you receive any awards or any citations?
Well, I didn't get nothing to. I was coming back on the boat. General give me a citation and give me one of my stars that got wounded, and we were coming back to Hawaii. Pearl Harbor, and this general, he got wounded, fell out of an airplane. I couldn't believe it. I said, "The hell you doing up there in that airplane? We down here fighting, you up there hunting deer." That's what he was. Them deer were about that big. So I met him again when I was in California, but I was in the hospital in California, and he was too. So while I was in the hospital, met a lot of movie stars. I enjoyed that.
That's a good one.
But the biggest one I met was I came to the East Coast with Shirley Temple.
Oh, I love Shirley Temple.
Well, she was a congressman or something. I don't know what.
Wow.
She was in Bethesda Navy Hospital. That's where I was. And I kept seeing her. And she says, "You think you know me, don't you?" I said, "Sure, I seen you someplace, but I can't picture you." She says, "Do you have any sisters that played with dolls?" I said, "Yeah, I got one sister that had a ton of doll babies." And she said, "I'd like to take you down and let you meet my husband." So they fed you in the basement. She took me down there, and here he was, a big shot doctor there. So we talked, and every morning we ate breakfast together a lot. And you know, the guy said, "How you sat there? Why you sat there?" Lucky. But sometimes you do have luck.
So tell us about your.
How did you stay in touch with your family?
Huh?
How did you stay in touch with your family?
My family? Oh, writing letters is free. You know, you can write them at night, during the night. So, wasn't no problem there.
And what did your when you got in touch with your family, did they send you goodies over, or did they send you any kind of
Well,
packages? Or?
they brought me by plane from California to Washington, D.C. And I was the first one to fly by plane from California to Washington, D.C. from Korea. One of the first ones. So I have an uncle that worked in the Pentagon up there. And I had a girlfriend one time worked up there. She was a nurse. And they all saw it on television. So they called my mom and they came up at night to see me. So it was great. But I had, I met my wife, not the one I'm talking about was already there. I met my wife at the FBI. J. Edgar Hoover, he gave us a place to live up there, free of charge. Gave us a car. I said, damn, I'm gonna live like a hog up here. I tell you. So he didn't want my wife to go leave the FBI. She was in charge of 24 agents there. So we were getting along great. And she's from Florida, and I'm from Virginia. So I told her, I said, going home and, you know, going home and talk to your mom and dad. And they didn't like me at first. I don't know why. But that was true. They didn't like me. So, but she had a brother was in the Marine Corps. And he was in Korea, and I used to see him a lot over there. But I never saw him do nothing but walk around. I said, damn. But I didn't know who he was or nothing. I got home. Her father told me, says, Bill, says, you got to be careful what you say around, because Leo, he got shell-shocked over it. I said, you talking about this guy here on the piano? I said, damn, I got wounded 5 times. See? He tell me, be careful. But he's still living. He comes to the VA, you know. We talk. But his sister, my wife, she died of cancer, so that was my life. I never married. I have 2 boys. One lives in Seattle. He works for Starbucks Coffee Company. He's got a great job. And I have one that stays at the house with me when I'm home.
And where's home now? When you're not here at the hospital, where's home? Where is home when you're not at the hospital?
Yeah.
Where do you live? You live here in West Palm Beach, Riviera Beach?
West Palm Beach.
And so, what you mentioned, Shirley Temple, do you remember any other entertainers that you saw? You said you saw a few people when you were in California. What other entertainers did you get to see?
I didn't quite
What other entertainers did you get to see?
Oh, God, I got to see a lot of people. Every night you went out to entertainment people. Washington is like a gangster town. They all come out at night.
Really? What about funny situations? Do you remember any particular funny situations?
I don't know. Well, my wife, she had a lot of work to do at night. And I just stayed home or went out, you know. I was in Washington, D.C. when Eisenhower got elected. And I went to the inauguration. But she didn't want to go. I said, hell, I'm going.
Did you keep a personal diary while you were in the military?
No. Somebody told me I ought to make one.
You remember a whole lot. You really should.
I
You
s-
should write it down. It would be so beautiful. You had a really good experiences.
Do you have any photographs?
Huh?
Do you have any photographs? Any pictures?
Photographs? I got a lot of 'em.
Who were the people in the pictures?
Huh?
Who were the people in the pictures?
Oh, Korean people. We were giving them stuff. Every time you went from a section, they'd be out there flagging you down, wanting food and stuff.
What
We-
about your final days? What about your final days? Do you recall your last days when they said, Mr. Hall, you're free to go? No more
They never
military
told
for you."
me that.
They never told you that, huh? You told them.
Well,
you
wait a
stayed
minute.
in- How long were you in the military? How long were you in the Marines?
How long?
Yes, sir.
Well, they never discharged me.
Right.
I got a retirement,
Okay.
so the retirement took care of everything.
Okay.
But it just, like I say, they we went to Washington to live, my wife and I, and he put up. I don't know how Jag over all that stuff on him. I don't believe, but
Yeah. What year did you end your service?
huh?
What year did you retire?
Did I injure
So
myself?
what year did you retire?
Well, it had to be about 53 or something. I was in the hospital 27 months, sir, but this.
Okay.
And I was in the hospital in Quantico. I was in the hospital in on the West Coast.
Did
They
you have
didn't want-
any relationships with any of your fellow soldiers after you came out of the service? Was there any, like a VFW or any of those kinds of organizations? Did you join any of those kinds of organizations?
Oh, I did. I got a friend lives in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, and he calls me about once every 2 weeks at the hospital here. He called me.
Very good.
But his friend got killed the first day we was in Korea. So it was just one of them things. You have a buddy 1 minute and you don't have him the next.
Yeah, right.
But I seen, now when it was the second time I got wounded, I seen these guys, they hit me up in this part of my legs. I saw them over there in a bunker. I said, mister, you ain't gonna get away with this. So I took a couple grenades and I went over and I killed them. And they took me back in a helicopter, come up close to the line and took me back. But the Koreans blew the helicopter up and blew me right out in the thing.
Wow. You had quite an experience, sir. You did. Thank you for all of your service. And so, what did you do after the service? Once you were well, what kind of profession or service did you take on? What kind of job opportunities were offered to you?
Well, you know, I couldn't do no work. And it was, I couldn't, my legs was bad. I got both of them blown up in a minefield. And I've had them blown up ever since, and they're working on them here. So it's just one day you think you're all right, next day you're not.
Okay. And if you had to give a word to some young man or some young girl who would be thinking about joining the military right now, what would you tell them?
Well, be truthful with you. I would tell them go in the Air Force. That's true. Because you stand a chance up there. When you're on ground, you don't stand much of a chance.
Your suggestion? Okay. And so, have you attended any reunions? Have there been any reunions? Have you attended any reunions? Have there been any reunions? Any reunions of your fellow officers?
I've never been to one. Because every time I went to go to one, I was sick and I couldn't go. I mean, I've got all of them's names and everything. Oh, we call each other, a lot of us talk, which is pretty good. We keep in touch. That's left. But a lot of them's gone.
So your experience was, how do you say that experience in the military affected you?
Well, look, I went there on my own. I did what I had to do. And when I come home, it was a lot to do, and I just couldn't do it. I like Virginia, and I'm thinking about going back there when I'm able.
So did you return back to Virginia after your service?
Yeah.
Return back to Virginia. Mr. Hall, thank you very much. We so appreciate it. Again, my name is Letitia Ruffin Cartwright, and this is...
Yeah, but don't hurry down, join up.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. We so much appreciate you taking this time to tell us your story. And my father was in Korea.
Was
He
it?
was in the Army, yes, sir, and never got his story. And he was in 1953. And I have no knowledge of anything about his story.